Yo, 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 what up, man? Welcome to another episode of Damn YouTube Sports Talk. It's your boy Ralph Sneaks. Coming to you live, full effect, man. We got another show coming, another episode. But make sure you go over to YouTube, head over there, subscribe to the page, Damn YouTube Sports Talk on YouTube. Head over there, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you can get notified when I drop new content. Head over to IG. You want to follow my personal page, Ralph underscore Sneaks. You want to follow the sports page, is damn underscore YouTube underscore sports talk. If you want to head over to Twitter or X, whichever one you still, call it, is damn YouTube sports talk. Episode 11, we in here, man. We're going to get straight to it. We're going to talk a little NFL today. We're going to do divisions. The next few episodes, I'm just going to do a couple teams out of each division until we get all divisions covered throughout the league. But today we're just going to start off with the AFC East and then the AFC North. We're just going to talk about the teams, the moves they made in the offseason, the additions, the losses, the draft picks, just what they did last year versus what they need to do this year, and, predictions for as far as where they finish in the division this year, record-wise, whether they make the playoffs, miss the playoffs, or whatever the case may be. But let's get started, man. We're going to start off with the AFC East. We're going to go into the New England Patriots. Hold on. Let me see if I can get y'all up on this. Yeah, we got the standings pulled up right there. AFC East last season. The New England Patriots, they finished last in the division. The Jets finished third. The Dolphins finished second. And, the Bills finished first and won the division. But we're going to get into it. Looking at the AFC East, like I said, the Patriots was 4-13. They finished fourth in the division. They got first-year head coach Gerard Mayo over there. Offensive coordinator Alex Van Pelt is there. They drafted Drake May with the third pick. They added Jacoby Brissett in the offseason. They added KJ Osborne as well. They drafted Jalen Pope, other receiver that was opposite Rome Odunze out there in Washington. They added him in the draft. And they was able to keep Kyle Duggar, the safety, and Jabril Peppers. They getting Christian Gonzalez back. He got hurt, suffered a torn ACL that ended his season. And he was playing well as a rookie up until that point. But they should get him back. They got the situation with Matthew Judon over there now. He's holding out of camp. I'm not sure if the two sides and came closer to agreement on the deal. If he went to camp not participating or whatever the case may be, he ain't there. He's holding out for whatever, the two sides. I don't know how close they is on the deal, if they close at all. I don't know. But all I know is he holding out. He ain't there. So, and you still got Juju Smith-Schuster there. Hunter Henry, the tight end, still there. Kendrick Bourne still there. Antonio Gibson, the running back, and they brought back Ramondre Stevenson. So you're looking at the New England Patriots in that division. 4 wins last year. I think they'll probably get about 5, maybe 6 wins this year. But I think they're still going to finish last in the division. I think the strong point of their team is going to be the defense. Having Gerard Mayo over there, former New England Patriot, is now the head coach. He's a defensive guy. So defense is going to be the strong suit of that team. I think that's going to be the identity of that team. Drake May, I don't know if he's going to be starting the season as the starter. They may start Jacoby Brissett as the season goes and then work Drake May in as the season progresses. You know what I mean? I can see that because there's no way that you should put Drake May out there and just get all kinds of hell beat out of him in that division. You're going to be playing the Jets twice, the Dolphins twice, and the Bills twice. Now, some of those teams are going to take a slight hit, but not like the Patriots. There's no reason to throw Drake May out there in that division, and you're not projected to go anyway. So ain't no point of throwing him out there week 1, getting him banged up his rookie season. So I think that's why they brought Jacoby Brissett in. He's a veteran QB. I think if they won 4 games with what's the guy? Came from Bama. He's no longer there. He's down in Jacksonville now, backing up Trevor Lawrence. The quarterback, can't think his name. I had a brain freeze. But if they won 4 games with him, I think a veteran quarterback, Jacoby Brissett, is good for adding 2 more games. So I could see possibly 5 to 6 wins for the New England Patriots. I'm not looking for them to do much more than that. Now, if they do, they do. But I'm not looking for them to do much more than maybe 6 wins at the most, which is a 2-win improvement from last season. I still got them finishing last in the division, even though I got them improving by 2 wins. I think Jacoby Brissett is good for 2 more wins than what Mac Jones gave you. That's his name, Mac Jones. Mac Jones had gave you 4 wins, so I think Jacoby Brissett is good for another win or 2 to put you at 5 or 6, but no more than that. Like I said, the strong suit of that team, in my opinion, is going to be the defense. Offensively, they haven't got there yet. Like I said just now, drafting Drake May as the quarterback with the 3rd pick, and a good rookie receiver, Jalen Pope. They say he's been looking good in camp so far. So I think it's going to have to come together offensively for them. It's going to take a couple years for them to put it together offensively. I think they still got cap space to make additions, but it's not really, too much out there in the free agent market right now that can help them. Now, there's some free agents still available that can help teams, but I don't think the free agent that's available is going to help them. So, yeah, like I said, the strong suit of that team is going to be defense. Christian Gonzalez coming back, who was playing damn good at the corner position. Then you got Kyle Duggar and then Jabril Peppers on the back end. And whenever Matthew Judon get out of his situation of what he got going on with the holdout. Now, as I said yesterday, now I'm not sure if they're going to do this or thinking about doing this, but you could, essentially trade Matthew Judon over to San Fran in exchange for Brandon Ayuk. Of course, some picks or something might be involved too. But, if use 2 players that's just grown, obviously Brandon Ayuk, he's in camp now, but he don't want to be there. Matthew Judon, he don't want to be in camp, and he ain't there. So you got 2 players that's grown up. So why not just find a way to trade them? And I understand that some draft picks or some additional draft picks might be involved with that deal. Sending the 2 guys, Judon from New England to San Francisco and sending Brandon Ayuk from San Francisco over to New England. Not saying that that's going to happen. I'm not saying that there's rumored to happen and there's no traction on that. I'm just throwing that scenario out there as an example as I go. So, what I mean? Don't look at me and say that I said that happened. I'm just predicting that's something that could happen or something that should look into. But yeah, I got the Patriots finishing last in division again this year. Like I said, first year head coach Gerard Mayo. I think he's just trying to, get a foundation of what it's going to take to build this team back up. And I think it's going to start on the defensive side of the ball. And the offense is just going to work itself in behind the defense. The identity of that team is going to be defense. With Gerard Mayo being a former Patriot and defensive player, I think he's going to be a defensive-minded guy and bring that to the Patriots, especially seeing what they already have, a nice defensive nucleus there with Kyle Duggar, Jabril Peppers, and getting Christian Gonzalez back. The offense is going to slowly come along with the rookie Drake May and Jalen Pope, who they drafted. Moving on, let's go to the New York Jets. They finished 3rd in the division. I think the New York Jets, in my opinion, is the one team in this division that's got the most pressure. You lost Aaron Rodgers for basically the entire season last year because he went out in the first game of the season against the Buffalo Bills. Hell, it was the 4th play of the game when he went out. So you lost him for the season. Get him back from the torn Achilles. You got Robert Saleh. I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. I think he's on the hot seat this season if he don't make a deep playoff run. You're getting Aaron Rodgers back. Zach Wilson is now gone. He's in Denver. And I think if you won 7 games last year with Zach Wilson, because that's what they went 7-10, finished 3rd in the division, just ahead of the Patriots. So I think Robert he's on the hot seat, head coach, because the offensive coordinator Nathaniel Hackett is now the offensive coordinator there now. He was the former head coach of the Denver Broncos. I'm sorry. And he has some familiarity with Aaron Rodgers from his Green Bay Packer days. So you got his offensive coordinator there now. Aaron Rodgers coming back, hopefully for an entire season. They added Mike Williams after he was released by the LA Chargers. So they went and signed him and added him. They added some help up front in Tyron Smith They also drafted the offensive lineman out of Penn State with the 10 pick, Olu Fashanu out of Penn State. They drafted him. They traded and brought in Hassan Reddick. Now he's also holding out. I'm not sure when the two sides or if the two sides have gotten close on a deal on contract extension, because that's what Hassan Reddick is holding out for. That's probably why Howie Roseman traded him over there from the Eagles, because there was no reason for them to keep Hassan Reddick, even though Hassan Reddick was playing good over there in Philly, but they already had Nolan Smith coming behind him, ready to go. So Howie Roseman, that's why he moved off of Hassan Reddick. And if you're the New York Jets, you had to know that you was going to have to pay Hassan Reddick after trading for him. So I'm not sure if the two sides already had something worked out and the Jets kind of went back on that, or they already had something worked out to pay him after this season and they want to see his production after this season, or whatever the case may be. But whatever it is, Hassan Reddick ain't reported to camp unless he just reported today. But the last of my knowing and knowledge, he hadn't reported, holding out, want a contract extension. He ain't got it yet. I'm not sure if the two sides have talked about it or came close or whatever the deal is on that, but he ain't in camp. But anyway, they traded for him, brought him in. And they should have a healthy Breece Hall, the running back, this year. Like I said, Zach Wilson, he's now gone to Denver. And they drafted Jordan Travis, who ain't going to play. He was out of Florida State. But I think this team right here has the best defense in the division. When you look at the defense and you look at the corner, the secondary play from the cornerback position with DJ Reed and Sauce Gardner. You look at, like I said, Hassan Reddick, who they brought in. You look at C.J. Mosley, who they got there. You look at Javon Kinlaw. You look at Quinn Williams, they got up front. You look at Jermaine Johnson, who they drafted, I think, last year out of Florida State. So they got some solid pieces up front. They got a solid defense. To me, they got the best defense in the division. I think this is the team that has the most pressure on them in the division. This is the team that has to win the division. This is the team that's poised and should be set up to make a playoff run and win this division. You know, looking at all they added, and they getting Aaron Rodgers back. And like I said, they won 7 games last year with Zach Wilson. So, you know, with backup QBs. So if you won 7 games and finished third in the division with backup QBs, then you getting Aaron Rodgers in with what they added to the wide receiver core and Mike Williams, having Alan Lazard already there, and you know, you got Garrett Wilson. So you should be good to go. And you know, Aaron Rodgers had a full season to recover from an Achilles tear. I don't think he's gonna play in preseason. I don't think they're gonna wait and start him game 1. I hadn't seen the Jets schedule to see who they play week 1, but it should be no preseason for him, you know, is my guess. So yeah, looking at the Jets, this is the team with the most pressure in this division to win. This is why they brought Aaron Rodgers into to be a New York Jet, to make a playoff run, get to the Super Bowl, and not just win the division, but make a deep postseason run and get to the Super Bowl. That's what they brought him in for. They got the defense, and you know, Robert Saleh, this is his, you know, he's on the hot seat. I hate to say it, but he on the hot seat. Nathaniel Hackett, the offensive coordinator, him and, you know, Aaron Rodgers familiar with each other. So he got to get it done this year. There should be no excuses this year. This is the team with the most pressure in that division, in my opinion. Now we're moving on to the Miami Dolphins. They finished second in division last year. They were 11-6 in the division. Yeah, they were 11-6 in the division last year. Mike McDaniel's the head coach. You look at them re-signing Jalen Waddle and Tua, who just got, I think, annual $53 million a year. They re-signed Jalen Waddle. They added Odell, Jordan Pryor. They added Jonas Smith, the tight end, and they drafted Chop Robinson with the 21st pick in the draft. I was surprised he lasted that far, or lasted that long on the board to fall the 21st to the Miami Dolphins. But you look at what they lost, and Xavier Howard, who's still a free agent. Christian Wilkinson, they lost him to the Las Vegas Raiders. Robert Hunt, they lost offensive lineman. They lost him to the Carolina Panthers in free agency. Bradley Jubb should be returning at some point from a torn Achilles he suffered last season. And Jalen Phillips, I'm sorry, Bradley Chubb tore his ACL last season, and Jalen Phillips tore his Achilles last season. So at some point, they should get both of those guys back, combined with Chop Robinson, like I said, who they drafted in the first round with the 21st pick. You're looking at the Miami Dolphins. I think they could finish second in this division again, probably with a similar record. Basically bringing back almost the same team minus Xavier Howard, and the guys that I just mentioned, losing Christian Wilkinson up front. But this team is built on speed. I think when you look at this team, you look at them offensively, bringing Tua back, having Reed up, Jalen Waddle, when you still got Tyreek Hill there, Raheem Mostert, and the other guy, running back out of I can't think his name now, but running back last year, he had some injuries. He was a rookie last year, running back out of Texas A&M. Can't think his name now, but they're built on speed. Mike McDaniels coming from that Kyle Shanahan coaching tree, he brought that style of play over to Miami, and Miami is a high-powered offense, so they can afford to take a slight hit on defense, but I don't think they're going to take that big of a hit on defense. It just depends on how Bradley Chubb and Jalen Phillips bounce back from their season-ending injuries last season, and how quick Chop Robinson comes on. The DN they drafted out of Penn State. If those guys can come back from their injuries, and Chop Robinson can have a good rookie year. I ain't saying a great rookie year, but if he can have a good rookie year, and Bradley Chubb can come back from his torn Achilles injury, and I understand it ain't easy, and Jalen Phillips come back from his torn Achilles, it ain't easy to do that. But if it can be done, I think the Miami Dolphins are still, be 11-win team again this year, and finish second in that division as well. Like I said, they added Odell Beckham. Odell Beckham is probably going to be the third receiver over there behind Jalen. Well, I know he is going to be, and he ain't even healthy himself. So he coming in behind Waddle and Tyreek Hill, and adding Jonas Smith, the tight end. So, the Miami Dolphins, I got them finish second and again in this division. I got the Jets winning the division. I got Miami finishing second in the division. And I'm taking Buffalo Bills, who won the division last year, to finish third in the division. And, New England's going to finish last in the division again. So that leads me to the Buffalo Bills. Like I said, last season they won the division at 11-6. Head coach Sean McDermott. This is Sean McDermott also has to be a coach that's on the hot seat this season. Even though he lost a lot, he didn't capitalize on when he had a lot. But now that he lost a lot, I'm not sure what he's going to be expected to do with what he lost. He lost Stephon Diggs, traded him to Houston. You lost Gabe Davis to Jacksonville. You lost Jordan Pryor to Miami. You lost Micah Hyde, who's still a free agent. And I'm not sure if they're going to bring him back or not, but he's still currently a free agent, I believe. You lost Leonard Floyd to San Francisco, and then you lost Tre'Davious White, the cornerback, to the LA Rams. So you lost a lot on both sides of the ball. You drafted Keon Coleman in the second round. You added Curtis Samuel, who was with the Washington Commanders last season, and you added Mac Hollins, who was with the Atlanta Falcons last season. And you still got James Cook, the running back there. And they also brought in Frank Gore's son as an undrafted free agent. So you're looking at the Buffalo Bills, and you still, you got Josh Allen there. I think it's going to be a pretty rough season for the Buffalo Bills this year. They lost a lot. They're going to rely on Keon Coleman, a rookie, for a lot of production that they lost between Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis. Curtis Samuel's going to come in. He's kind of a guy that can play both receiver and running back. He's kind of an in-between guy, pretty much a slot guy almost. And Mac Hollins, you brought him in. I'm not sure where they're probably gonna play opposite. He's probably gonna have a similar role that Gabe Davis had. So, Keon Coleman is gonna fill in to be the one that they lost in Stephon Diggs, and Mac Hollins is gonna be the guy that fill in what they lost in Gabe Davis, and then they're just gonna slide Curtis Samuel in the slot and utilize him for some sometimes out of the backfield with James Cook. But I don't think that's gonna be enough. I think the window was closed for Buffalo. They can still make an attempt to keep it open, but as far as the Super Bowl go, they had their time to get there. They didn't do it. They didn't capitalize when the window was open. You know, the window is not going to always be open. That's why you got to go in it when it's open, and you got to capitalize when the opportunity presents itself. And I think that time has passed for the Buffalo Bills. Like I said, I got the Jets winning the division this year, and I followed by the Miami Dolphins finishing second, Buffalo finishing third, and then the New England Patriots in the AFC East finishing last again in the division. But Sean McDermott has got to be on the hot seat. If they don't get it done this year, I think they're going to move off of Sean McDermott. I think it's time. You know, like I said, they're not saying nothing bad about Sean McDermott, but when the opportunity was there to capitalize, and they didn't. And now that they lost a lot, they're going to rely on rookies or a rookie, Keon Coleman, to be the number one and give you the production that Stephon Diggs gave you, and they lost him to Houston. So, yeah, I got them finishing third in the division, missing the playoffs. I don't think it's going to be three teams out of this division get in the playoffs. I can see the Dolphins and the Jets, you know, the two teams out of this division making the playoffs. But Buffalo being finishing third in the division, I don't see them making the playoffs unless something else happened in one of those other divisions that I'm going to get to later on another episode. But I just don't see it. Buffalo, I think they take a step back. I don't think they're going to be terrible, but I don't think they're going to be good enough to capitalize and make the playoffs, especially unless something drastic happened in the division like what happened last year, and I don't wish that injury on nobody. But if something happened to the Jets, like similar to what happened last year, and they just get hit with a major injury, then, yeah, they may slide in, and that probably will bump the Dolphins up unless they have injury history, and they've been battling injuries as well. Jalen Waddle's been injured. Tua's been dealing with concussion. Hell, Tua was injury prone when he came into the league and got drafted. And you know, you're looking at what Miami lost, and two guys coming back from season-ending injuries last season in Bradley Chubb and Jalen Phillips. So if something happened in the division where injuries just take a toll on those two teams, the Jets and Dolphins, then the Bills, of course, I think they will slide up and slide into the playoffs and bump one of those teams out. But as of now, you know, everything healthy. I got the Buffalo Bills finishing third in this division, missing the playoffs, behind the Dolphins and Jets in that division. And obviously the New England Patriots finishing last in that division. That's gonna wrap up the AFC East. Let's move on and discuss the AFC North. The AFC North, you got the Ravens, Browns, Steelers, Bengals. There it is right there. You see it. The Ravens winning that division, finishing 13th. Followed by the Browns, 11-6. The Steelers, 10-7. And the Bengals, 9-8, finishing last, missing the playoffs. You're looking at, let's start with Cincinnati Bengals, the team who finished last in the division at 9-8. I get it. A lot of what they did last season, or the reason they finished 9-8, I get it. They missed Joe Burrow. He went out with a season-ending injury in Week 11 versus the Ravens. I think that was a Thursday night game in which he got hurt, and they shut him down for the season after that. You look at the additions they made with Geno Stone and safety Von Bell, running back Zach Moss, defensive tackle Sheldon Rankins, Trent Brown, and bringing in tight end Mike Gesicki over from Miami. They franchise tag T. Higgins. We got Jamar Chase, who is also holding out in camp. I'm not sure how long his holdout is going to be, but I've seen he's at camp. He's just not participating. Now, I'm not sure why the hell you would go to camp and not participate, which to me, that indicates that he's going to play. You know what I mean? He's just kind of, you know, the front office probably not taking that serious because he showed up. If he was serious about it, he wouldn't have showed up. But he showed up. So I don't think he's going to get his money this year because they franchise tag T. Higgins. Now, I think when T. Higgins come off of that franchise tag, he'll get his money next season. Joe Burrow's locked in. They drafted the offensive lineman Amaris Mims out of Georgia, defensive lineman Chris Jenkins out of Michigan, and the wide receiver Jermaine Burton's out of Alabama. So Burton pretty much is going to replace what they lost in Tyler Boyd, and then they're going to go and draft another receiver in the upcoming draft to replace what they losing T. Higgins, because I don't think they're going to franchise T. Higgins for a second time, knowing they got to pay Jamar Chase, and they already have paying Joe Burrow as we speak. So they lost running back Joe Mixon to the Houston Texans. They lost Tyler Boyd to Tennessee Titans, and they lost Jonah Williams to the Arizona Cardinals. Like I said, they replaced the offensive lineman Jonah Williams with Amaris Mims out of UGA. And they added a D lineman through the draft, Chris Jenkins, and a wide receiver, Jermaine Burton from Bama. And Zach Moss, the running back, they added him to replace Joe Mixon. Now, I don't think Zach Moss is as good as Joe Mixon, but I guess that's what, once you start looking at how the cap situation is and having to pay Jamar Chase and choosing the franchise tag T. Higgins, then, you're going to lose somebody. And the odd man out was Joe Mixon, and he ended up in Houston. He ended up in a damn good situation in Houston down there with C.J. Stroud, and they also picked up, like I said, Stephon Diggs. So, and already having Nico Collins down there and Tank Dell. So, he landed in a good situation. So it wasn't as bad for Joe Mixon to get out of Cincinnati and end up landing somewhere like Houston with that kind of offensive firepower. But finishing 9-8 in the division, this is a tough division. This is one of the toughest divisions in football this year, because you look at the Pittsburgh Steelers and Mike Tomlin, who obviously don't look the same they looked in previous years. But Mike Tomlin also hasn't had a losing season, and he didn't have one last year at 10-7. And he finished third in the division. But I think the Bengals finished 9-8 with Joe Burrow having a season in the injury in Week 11. I think that they could win 11 games this year, to be 11-6. But that's going to depend on Joe Burrow's health and Jamar Chase's health. And it's going to be a lot of I don't see the ground game being what it was that Joe Mixon is gone. It's going to be a pass heavy. And it's going to depend on the defense as well. The defense has to hold up. If defense can't hold up in this division, they won't win. They'll be somewhat similar to what they were last year, 9-8. But if the defense can hold up and they can stay relatively healthy between Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, they'll probably win 11 games. I think they're good for 2 more games. They were 9-8 last year, and they were banged up. So if one of the two, Jamar Chase or Joe Burrow, can stay healthy enough, they can win 11 games this year in this tough division. But the defense also has to step up, because you got to look at, you're going to be playing the Ravens twice, the Steelers twice, and the Cleveland Browns twice. You're going to be playing all 3 of those teams twice in the division, combined with the other teams on your schedule. And I haven't seen the Cincinnati Bengals schedule to know what the other teams are, but I know they're in the toughest division, playing the Ravens twice, the Browns twice, and the Steelers twice. So if the defense can hold up and Joe Burrow or either Jamar Chase can stay relatively healthy for about 90% of the season, and both of those guys have had injury history since being in the league, they can win 11 games. But if they don't, then they'll probably be around 8-9, 9-8. So and like I said, it's gonna be a good team in this division not make it. It's going to be some good teams in this division and not make it. You know what I mean? Because, like I said, the AFC North, in my opinion, is one of the toughest divisions in football this year. And on paper and really just looking at the game, that's one of the toughest divisions in the NFL. Let's move on to Pittsburgh. They finished third in the division, ended the season 10-7. Like I said, they never had a losing season under Mike Tomlin. They got Arthur Smith over there now. He came over. He was the former head coach of the Atlanta Falcons last year. They now have Raheem Morris in Atlanta. Arthur Smith is now the offensive coordinator in Pittsburgh. Looking at what they did in the offseason, they added Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. They also added Dante Johnson, the cornerback from Carolina. The linebacker, Patrick Queen. Patrick Peterson's gone. Patrick Queen is there, and Van Jefferson, the wide receiver. And looking at what they drafted, Troy Falatino, I hope I pronounced his name right. He's the offensive lineman out of Washington. They drafted him in the first round. They drafted Zach Frazier, a center in the second round. They drafted Roman Wilson, a receiver from Michigan, in the third round. And they also drafted Peyton Wilson, a linebacker, who I was surprised fell to them into the third round, to the Steelers in the third round. I was surprised at that. Drafted him out of NC State. This is they lost Deontay Johnson as well. They lost Kenny Pickett, Mason Rudolph, but like I said, they picked up Russell Wilson and Justin Fields to offset Kenny Pickett going to the Eagles and Mason Rudolph going to the Titans. And they lost Deontay Johnson to the Panthers in the trade with involving Dante Jackson. So you're looking at the Steelers. You got Russell Wilson. I think he's injured. He's not participating now because of an injury, hamstring. It's either hamstring or calf injury he's dealing with, one of the two. But you got Justin Fields taking first team reps, and he's found some type of chemistry. And I know it's only camp, and they only been there for a few days, but he's seen to get on some type of chemistry, rhythm, and page with George Pickens. Now, I think that knowing Mike Tomlin's history with the Pittsburgh Steelers, never having a losing season with him, he went 10-7 last year, having Kenny Pickett and Mason Rudolph there. I think he could duplicate the same thing, having Russell Wilson and Justin Fields there. Now, who gets the starting position at quarterback, Fields or Russell? I don't know. I assume they're going to go with Russell Wilson. Because when Justin Fields got there, they were already talking about rumors of possibly using Justin Fields on special teams and returning kickoffs and this and that, which was some crazy shit I ever heard. So they already had plans for him to do things other than be the quarterback when he got there. So now that he's thrown in the mix and has to take first team reps because Russell Wilson's sitting on the sideline dealing with injury, I think they're still going to go back to the more veteran guy, Russell Wilson. And if Russell Wilson starts bad, I don't think that they're going to let Russell Wilson come out of his slump. I think they're then going to take Russell Wilson out and insert Justin Fields because he is getting first team reps now. And that's where it comes to me. That's where it plays a big part when a player is out and another player has to step into that position and take reps with the first team. Because once that player comes back from injuries, prime example what we got here in Pittsburgh. Russell Wilson is out. He's not taking first team reps, even though he's the veteran QB between him and Justin Fields. Justin Fields is taking the reps in place of Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson, in my opinion, is going to get the starting job. Russell Wilson will then, if he goes through a slump and starts to play in Pittsburgh like he played last year in Denver, they're going to immediately take him out, insert Justin Fields before it's too late. They're not even going to give Russell Wilson time to play out of his slump that he gets in if he gets in one. They're going to automatically insert Justin Fields because he's already taking reps with the first team. So it's not like that's going to be new to him. He's taking first team reps now. And he was a starter in Chicago. So it's not like you're going to a backup. You're going from a starter to a starter. And the starter he's getting first team reps now. So they can't afford in this division. Like I said, this is one of the toughest divisions in the NFL. They can afford to lose games and wait on a guy to come out of a slump. They need to go ahead and if he's slumping, they can't afford for him to come out. Go ahead, pull him, get the other guy in so we can keep rolling in this division because it's one of the toughest divisions. We can't afford to just go on a 3-game losing streak, waiting on you to come out of slump. And we got a guy that's also a starter in Justin Fields that was taking first team reps in camp in your absence due to injury that we could just slide in and keep it moving. And it seemed, like I said, he seemed to be building some type of rapport with George Pickens. So, and that's the number one guy there. So, I mean, I think the Steelers, like I said, if they won 10 games last year in that division with Kenny Pickett and Mason Rudolph, and I get a lot of it, some of it was due to injury in the division because you had key injuries in Cincinnati to both Joe Burrow and then Jamar Chase. And then you had injuries in Cleveland, in which Deshaun Watson got injured. They shut him down for the season. And then Nick Chubb had that terrible knee injury. I think it was like week two or week 3. Nick Chubb had the ugly knee injury, which was the ACL tear, and it was ugly. If you didn't see it, I don't advise you to go see it. It was ugly. We don't know how many games they would have won, how many more games they would have won or lost if those injuries hadn't happened. And I get it was within the division. But healthy and playing how I know they can play, and knowing the history of Mike Tomlin as the Pittsburgh Steelers head coach, never having a losing season under Mike Tomlin being the head coach. Oh man, this is gonna be tough. This is gonna be tough. I might have to hold my prediction for this division, but this one is gonna be tough. Let me just hold up. This is probably tough. This is probably tough because you still got the Baltimore Ravens and the Cleveland Browns I'm about to get to. Speaking of Cleveland finishing 11-6, second in the division last year. They had key injuries too to Nick Chubb and Deshaun Watson, who I think injured his shoulder in like week 9 or something like that. And they ended up shutting him down. He got injured before Joe Burrow got injured. So they shut Watson down for the season before Joe Burrow had the season-ending injury. Nick Chubb, like I said, he tore his ACL in like week 2 or week 3 or something like that. It was ugly. They lost 2 linebackers and they lost Joe Flacco in the offseason, but they replaced the loss of Joe Flacco with the addition of Jameis Winston. And they also added Jerry Jeudy, Devin Bush. They added 2 linebackers. They lost 2 linebackers and they added 2 linebackers in Devin Bush and Jordan Hicks. And like I said, they lost Joe Flacco, but they replaced his loss with Jameis Winston. Head coach Kevin Stefanski still there. 11-6 in the division last year. And to me, this is a proven year for Deshaun Watson. This is the year that Deshaun Watson got to show and prove that he is what they traded, I think, 6 draft picks to get and gave him a fully $230 million fully guaranteed contract. He has to prove why they traded 6 picks. And I think 3 of those 6 picks were first-round picks. So this is the year he got to prove why they traded to get him and gave him a $230 million fully guaranteed contract. And I get it. He struggled losing Nick Chubb early in the season. But Deshaun Watson hasn't been looking the same. You know, they gave him some help by adding Jerry Jeudy to go opposite of Amari Cooper. Nick Chubb at some point should be coming back this season. Deshaun Watson got to play better. And even then, to me, Deshaun Watson ain't looked good since he left Houston and dealing with that situation in which he had all those sexual allegations come out with the women. I think it was like 20-something women or whatever come out. So he hadn't looked good since then. I think a lot of that is still weighing on him, combined with the suspension that he had to serve from all of that. So, you know, getting back in the groove and getting back in and all that, I understand that, you know what I mean? So this is the year he got to, you know, come out, show and prove why they traded 6 picks, 3 first rounders included, and gave him a $230 million fully guaranteed deal. This is the year he got to prove that. And like I said, last year, dealing with the two injuries at the quarterback position and Nick Chubb, who was basically almost like a running back / receiver because he can catch the ball out of the backfield. He can run between the tackles and outside the tackles. He's a bell cow. So losing that and, you know, getting that back at some point this season, and Jerry Jeudy they added over from the Denver Broncos, they should have a pretty solidified offense. Having a number 1 and number 2 option to throw the ball to, Jerry Jeudy, Amari Cooper. Hopefully Jerry Jeudy performs better in Cleveland than he did in Denver. You know, and I know Jerry Jeudy had the back and forth, you know, situation with wide receiver Steve Smith. So yeah, I don't know where his head at. You know what I mean? Hopefully it's in Cleveland. And can help his offense because this is, like I said, this is a tough division, and a lot of it's going to be on Deshaun Watson's shoulder. And this is the year, like I said, Deshaun Watson got to prove. So winning 11 games, going 11-6, finishing second division last year with all that they dealt with, I think that they could do similar this year if they come back healthy. They might be a game or 2 better. I'm not sure. Like I said, I haven't looked at the remaining teams that they play on their schedule outside of the division. That they got 2 with the Steelers, 2 with the Bengals, and 2 with the Ravens. So I think they could be similar, 11-6 this year. You know what I mean? Still having Denzel Ward on the defensive side of the ball with Myles Garrett. So I'm not sure what happened with Grant Del Pitt. They drafted out of LSU. I'm not sure if he's still there or not. But I hadn't really heard much from him since he got drafted there outside of injuries that he's been dealing with. But I think they're still going to be a dominant defense. I'm not saying they're going to be the best defense in the division. I think they could be one of. And like I said, this is a tough division on both sides of the ball for all four teams. I think the weakest defense in this division would be Cincinnati. And the strongest defense in this division could be Baltimore. But of course, Pittsburgh, known for defense, and Cleveland, who has a defense, has a good defense. So it's hard to say in this division. That's why it's so tough to make predictions in this division. But I'm gonna give you all my predictions. I think, like I said, Cleveland could finish around 11-6 again this season. It's gonna be a good team that's left out in this division. It's gonna be a good team that's not gonna get the finish that they would like. That's still gonna have a good record. But that's just how tough this AFC North division is. Moving on to Baltimore, the Ravens won the division last year, 13-4. John Harbaugh head coaching them. They lost the defensive coordinator Mike McDonald. He got hired as the head coach in Seattle for the Seahawks. They added Derrick Henry and Nelson Aguilar. They drafted cornerback Nate Wiggins in the first round out of Clemson. They drafted Roger Rosengarten, the tackle out of Washington, in the second round. They drafted C.J. Tampa in the fourth round, and then they drafted another receiver, Devontae Walker, out of UNC in the fourth round as well. This is going to be a run-heavy defensive team. I think this is what Baltimore is going to do this year. They're going to play solid defense because even though they lost Clowney to Carolina, they lost Odell Beckham to Miami, they lost Geno Stone to the division Cincinnati Bengals, and they lost both J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards to the L.A. Chargers and Patrick Queen to Pittsburgh. So they lost a lot defensively with Clowney and Patrick Queen and Geno Stone, but they also replaced that well because they got two corners out of the draft. They got a tackle and they got a wide receiver. Devontae Walker is going to replace what they thought they was going to get in Odell Beckham. So I think they pretty much replaced him with a rookie. And then they brought in Nate Wiggins in the first round out of Clemson, who's going to be a day one starter. So you look at what they have on the defensive side of the ball with drafting Nate Wiggins, having Kyle Hamilton there, and just knowing and having Roquan Smith in the middle. So they're going to be stout defensively. The thing that I worry about is the passing game. They got a running QB and they got a running QB in Lamar Jackson. He's MVP QB. This team right here also, in my opinion, probably has the most pressure on them. You have an MVP quarterback in Lamar Jackson. Now I get it. They don't have a lot of weapons on the outside to throw the ball to. They got Zay Flowers there. That's why I say I think they're going to be a run-heavy team. They brought in Derrick Henry. They're going to run the ball with Derrick Henry, and then you also have a running quarterback in Lamar Jackson. So they're going to be a run-first team that's going to set up the play action to a speedy receiver down the field like Zay Flowers. And then Zay Flowers is so shifty and so speedy that a lot of teams probably going to back up off of him. So a lot of stuff underneath is going to be available, which should make the throws easier for Lamar, and they can, get a chunk play, get back to the ground game between him and Derrick Henry. And they're going to play solid defense. They're going to run the clock, and they're going to play defense because the defense is going to get you some 3 and outs. The defense is going to hold opponents under a certain number of points. So you should be able to control the clock offensively with the run game between Lamar and Derrick Henry. You should move the chains, get first downs, eat clock, and you should, pick and choose when to hit your play action because you got a speedy receiver in Zay Flowers. I'm not saying much about Nelson Aguilar, but we've seen Nelson Aguilar in other places, and I think he's just a receiver to kind of fill in what they lost. But they also drafted Devontae Walker out of UNC. So in the fourth round. Now I'm not expecting a fourth round receiver to come in and light it up from week 1, but we have seen receivers come in and look good. I can't think of this guy. He's in the LA Rams right now. He's a rookie last year. He lit it up. And he wasn't even a high pick. But it's capable of happening. I just think the Baltimore Ravens, who won the division, finished 13-4 last year, they got the most pressure on any team in this division. You got an MVP caliber quarterback. You brought in Derrick Henry. You lost a lot, but you also replaced it, and you played good, solid defense. And you're paying Roquan Smith. I think he's one of the highest paid, if not the highest paid linebacker in the league right now. So you got that. And like I said, you lost your defensive coordinator, Mike McDonald. He was hired as the Seattle Seahawks head coach. But that still puts the pressure on the Baltimore Ravens to get it done. You got it. Like I said, you got an MVP quarterback. You went out and acquired Derrick Henry in free agency. And you still got a solid, stout defense. So defensively, you got that's what I think John Harbaugh and the Baltimore Ravens are going to go about this season. They're going to be a run-first team between Derrick Henry and Lamar, and they're only going to pass when they need to. They get Mark Andrews. He came back off an injury. And then I like the other guy, Isaiah Likely. I think he's more athletic and need to play him more because he's more athletic, in my opinion, than Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews is the more sure-handed guy, but I think Isaiah Likely, you have to have him on the field because when Mark Andrews went down and he stepped in and filled in, he played well at the tight end position. And I think he's more athletic than Mark Andrews to the point where when he gets in, you don't need to have him blocking. You need to have him out running routes. I wouldn't be surprised if they run more 2 tight end sets with Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely, both running routes, since they're bringing in Nelson Aguilar and having drafted Devontae Walker. So you'll have 2 additional pass catchers from the tight end position running those 2 tight end sets to offset what they lost and having the lack of wide receiver firepower and only having Zay Flowers in his second year there. So, I think that's what they need to do offensively. But I think it's still going to be a run-first offense, and when they do pass the ball, I think they need to run 2 tight end sets. They need to run and pass out of 2 tight end sets with Isaiah Likely and Mark Andrews, in my opinion. But it's still going to be a run-first team, having Derrick Henry come in, and then Lamar Jackson being a running QB to set up completions down the seam to Isaiah Likely and Mark Andrews. And then you got the deep threat speedster in Zay Flowers. That's what I think Baltimore needs to do, and play good, solid defense, because they have the defense that could keep opponents under a certain number of points, and they have an MVP caliber quarterback in Lamar Jackson, who I think is going to put up good numbers this year with Derrick Henry. As long as no injuries occur, I think this will be the team that'll be winning the division again this year. I think winning the division is not even the goal no more for the Baltimore Ravens. The Baltimore Ravens now should be thinking about Super Bowl. They should be thinking about getting through and past Kansas City, because like I said, I think that the Buffalo Bills took a step back and they won't make the playoffs. It'll be coming out of the AFC East. I think it'll be the Dolphins and it'll be the Jets. So they should be focusing not only on just winning the division, but they should be focused on a deep playoff run to get past the Kansas City Chiefs and try to find themselves into the Super Bowl. So that's why their team, in my opinion, in the AFC North has the most pressure would be the Baltimore Ravens, because you've been winning these amount of games, you've been finishing at the top of the division for the past few years, and it ain't equated to nothing. So, and you've made changes to the wide receiver position, and now you made changes to the running back position. And you still have an MVP caliber quarterback in Lamar Jackson there. So this is the team that has the most pressure, in my opinion, in the AFC North. I think they could run it back and repeat as division, win the division again this year. This is a tough division. It's hard for me to give the 2, 3, and 4 who's gonna finish second, third, and fourth in this division. But I'm gonna say Baltimore finishing first in this division. Then I'm gonna go. It's tough. I'm gonna go. I think it could be this a repeat of how it ended last year. I think it could be Baltimore winning the division, finishing first. Then it depends on how Deshaun Watson performs this year, and at what point do they get Nick Chubb back during the season, because Nick Chubb was a big part of their offense. And having Deshaun Watson go down with a season-ending injury, I'm gonna take. You know what? I'm gonna take I'm gonna take Pittsburgh to finish second in his division behind. I'm gonna take Pittsburgh to finish second in his division behind Baltimore, and I'm gonna take Cleveland to finish third in his division. Well, no, it depends. Like I said, it depends on when Nick Chubb come back and how Deshaun Watson plays coming off a shoulder injury. If they don't come back in time, the Cleveland Browns could actually be a good team, but still finish last in this division. But then you also got the Cincinnati Bengals, who also have injuries to Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. If they can't stay healthy, they could be in fourth. They could finish last in this division. So it's going to be a good team to finish last in this division. I think the more injury-prone teams right now would be the Cleveland Browns and the Cincinnati Bengals, because you got Deshaun Watson, who's injured, coming off a season-ending injury. You got Nick Chubb, who's coming off a season injury, ACL tear. Those are two big pieces to that offense. And I get and understand the offense can keep moving because it kept moving without Deshaun Watson when they brought in Joe Flacco. And now that Joe Flacco's gone, they brought in a guy who probably could keep the offense going in Jameis Winston. But I wouldn't count on Jameis Winston being the guy that could lead you. You know what I mean? I think he's a guy that can fill in. But Jameis Winston, in my opinion, is the type of quarterback that if you already so many games up in the division, then he could lead you and keep you afloat. But if you already borderline afloat, I don't think he's going to be the one that's going to, take you above and beyond. So you already got to have a substantial lead in this division. If something happens, Jameis Winston come in and he can keep you afloat without going under. But if you already, the water's already at your neck and you about to go under, then in Jameis Winston coming in, that could go south. And I'm not saying nothing bad about Jameis Winston, but that's just how tough this division is, the AFC North. That's what I'm talking about. So, based off of injuries, man, you could have Cleveland or Cincinnati finishing third and fourth in this division. But I'm going to take the Ravens to finish first in this division. I'm going to take Pittsburgh to finish second in this division. Because, like I said, Mike Tomlin, since being the Pittsburgh Steelers head coach, has never had a losing season. Last year, they won 10 games with Kenny Pickett and Mason Rudolph. But now they got in a veteran quarterback in Russell Wilson, and they brought in Justin Fields. So, and I think Wilson and Fields, both of those are better than Kenny Pickett and Mason Rudolph. And they won 10 games with Kenny Pickett and Mason Rudolph. And like I said, they had some pretty good additions. Dante Jackson at the cornerback position, and then they Patrick Queen the linebacker position, and then they brought in another receiver, Van Jefferson. And I think they drafted well. They got two offensive linemen. And then they got another wide receiver, Roman Wilson, and then Peyton Wilson out of NC State. So I'm going to take Pittsburgh to finish second in the division behind the Baltimore Ravens. And like I said, the two most injury-prone teams in that division, in my opinion, is the Cleveland Browns, Cincinnati Bengals. Depends on how the injuries hold up for them, at what point they get their guys back from key guys back from major season-ending injuries last season. That could determine who finished third and fourth in that division between Cincinnati and Cleveland. So, yeah, man, that's what I got for the AFC East and the AFC North. Next episode, I'm going to hit y'all with the AFC South and the AFC West. And that's going to wrap up the AFC, and then we're going to, do other episodes doing two divisions out of the NFC, and then do the last two divisions out of the NFC. And that's going to wrap up my predictions for the NFL. They're heading into training. Well, they're in training camp right now. Preseason start Thursday, the Bears and the Texans. So before the season gets started, I just wanted to give y'all my predictions. I didn't want to wait till after the season to see how it go to give predictions. I know people do that. To me, that's cheating. That don't count. You got to give your predictions before the season start. And the season hadn't started yet. Hell, preseason hadn't even started. They're in camp as we speak. So yeah, man, that's my predictions, man. To the next episode, I need y'all to go over to YouTube, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you can get notified when I drop new content. Head over to Instagram, check out my personal page, follow me. I follow back, Ralph_Sneaks. Head over to the sports page at damn_YouTube_sports talk. And if you're on Twitter or X, head over there and follow the Damn YouTube Sports Talk page over there. I follow back. Until the next episode, man. Y'all be safe.